I'm compelled this morning to reassert this most fundamental fact about God that we know through looking at Jesus Christ. A fact out of which all of our life and mission together as a community flows. And the fact is, God so loves the world. If Jesus Christ reveals anything about the heart of God the Father, it is that He loves the world, including, but not limited to you and me.
So what is 2 decades to a man, his wife, his family? What about those 2 decades being poured out at a church? Serving as a leader nearly all of that time, a leader often burdened with casting a vision. Bearing such a burden of being prophetic must have been exhilarating at times, and at others, torturous. Searching for hope in that which hadn't come to pass, prayerfully interpreting the unseen and trusting warnings of where not to go, and allowing God the time He needed to plant dreams. Anyone who has known Joe knows he loves to let sensitive thinkers and generous hearts influence his way. Joe's tenure at Fellowship has been one of constantly nudging the church to look at areas of the world that perhaps we hadn't seen before.
Craig Eakright and I are just so pumped up about this new thing God is doing, birthing overflow out of the new community. We are just so excited. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons we are excited is because we all are a part of a body that values young adults.
I am Craig Eakright. Was on staff at Fellowship for a number of years for young adult ministry they were launching called The New Community. After a couple of years, Ron had planted Pathway, and so Joe came in. As Joe came in and transitioned, he cast a vision that was wanting to engage the church in their faith 24/7, 365 days a year. And I'm like, that's something I can sign on for. We transitioned to Overflow, just saw a tremendous number of baptisms and life change. I could say Joe was probably one of the top 5 leaders that I've worked for. I am who I am today because of the investment of all of the leaders, and specifically to Joe for the ways that he showed me how to live a faith every hour, every minute of every day. So just grateful to the Johns family, and Joe in particular.
There's just too much isolation, too much loneliness. And it's ironic that that would be the case even as people are very open to talking about spiritual things. And so we're becoming a community that is full of safe people who can engage others in conversations about spiritual things. We are going to engage our culture with Christ.
I came to faith here through TNC, and a few months later, Joe and Steph Johns showed up, and we became friends. Like so many fellowshippers, I found myself in the last year or so, wrestling with all the challenges that the church was facing. We had political unrest and we had COVID, and it was a hard season, but Joe led us well through that. And Joe was transparent and honest. I love Joe and Steph, and I'm thankful to be their friends. And I'm thankful to have been mentored by Joe and taught by Joe and served with Joe all these years.
If God so loves the world that we should too, then we're faced with a very important question we must ask together as a church. What sacrifice do we make as a body that proves our love for the world? What tangible things do we regularly do in community with one another outside of Sunday morning, outside of this building, that undeniably demonstrates to the world that we love them?
I first met Joe many years ago when he introduced the concept of Go Days to the FMC community, and the idea of getting out from within the church walls and going out and serving the community, mainly in the southeast part of Fort Wayne, and just exploring that whole idea of going out and serving your neighbor and loving well. And they responded. Joe, I know that God already has a door open for you. All you need to do is walk through it, and I love you.
My name is Andrew Hoffman, and for the past 20 years, I can't remember too many memories as it relates that don't include Joe Johns. From coming to fellowship in 2003 right out of college to starting to get plugged in and trying to find a place and being drawn to Joe. And Joe just always has a way to invite and to include people that have a missional sensitivity. He's been such an important part in my own journey. Who I am, much of who I am as a follower, as a discipler, as a husband, as a dad, and all those important things is because Joe's poured into my life. And one of the greatest gifts is that we moved into a neighborhood together over 12 years ago. And my wife and I and our family has gotten to journey with their family, and they've gotten to pour into our lives, and we hopefully have poured into their lives. But I can't imagine where I would be without Joe Johns in my life as a mentor, as a friend, and as somebody to be in relationship with over the past almost 20 years. So Joe, your ministry is just beginning. Thank you for investing in our lives and my life.
Hi, my name's Emily Tumbleson. I initially got to know Pastor Joe through Fellowship's relationship with World Relief in Eastern Congo. I had the opportunity to work alongside him in all of our Race for Peace and Steps for Healing efforts. One thing that I really grew to value about Joe's leadership was his ability to have imagination for what God might do or what God could do. He believed that if we were going to trust God for peace or for healing somewhere else, that we had to trust God for that in ourselves as well. On a personal level, Joe and Steph have had a huge impact on my own discipleship. Joe has been encouraging and affirming to me, and it's given me confidence in myself and also as a leader. Steph has been a good friend and a mentor to me, and she has walked with me through many hard things in my life with marriage and parenting and relationships, and her influence and example have really been valuable to me. I truly am grateful for Joe and Steph's impact on my life and my discipleship.
My name is Marcel Serubungo, DR Congo. I was working for World Relief just when I met with Joe. They came it was for a trip, a vision trip, to see possibilities of partnering with World Relief. When they came, he was with his wife, and that time just I met him, and I had the opportunity just to connect very much with him. Then we traveled together, went in very dangerous places together, and this brought that connection that was very strong. And I found that he was someone who was excited for the ministry and very burdened for the people, because people were suffering at that time during a period of war. There is an expression that says to stand in the shoes of someone else. So Joe, he stood in our shoes as Congolese, and we put in place that program of peace building. This is something that God has put on his heart, and really it's God who brought that, because in places where we have the village peace committees, they are still operational, and it is still doing the work, bringing people together and resolving conflicts. And when they see us, they see peace. I have a way I behave today due to what I saw from Joe as a leader, a servant leader. And even pastors here in our countries, there are some who changed so much due to the way they saw how Joe was humbling when serving in our communities here. What I can say is just to express my gratitude to Joe, to the Joe family, his lovely wife, Steph. Those people, they have impacted my life, myself first. The way they live, the way they are, the way they love God, the way they serve, they have impacted my life. And I have learned much from them through the partnership that we had with FMC.
Individuals have characters, but bodies have characters too. Is our character as a people best described as lovingly present? And what does the world point to as evidence of that?
My name is Sherry Haywood. I've been a member here for several years, and I had a tragedy in my life. 2018, January the 14th, 2018, my 21-year-old was killed. We came home, and minutes after walking into the house, Joe and Steph showed up. And I just think it was a calm to the storm. They were the first people to come after we came into the house, and we needed it. We needed it so bad, and I think the hug and the look on his face said the most. Like he was in the moment with me. And the girls, he was able to take them to the room and answer all kind of questions that they had going through their head. And as we reflect on it, after the fact, he was the calm to our storm that night. Him and Steph, and he'll never be forgotten.
Hi, I'm Jeff King, the ministry staff here at Fellowship. And I just want to share a little bit about Joe's leadership because I've been a recipient of Joe's shepherd leadership over these past 4 years and change, and gave me the okay like nobody else has ever given me the okay to be a shepherd and process through your emotions, but it's also okay to be firm and lead from your gifting. And we walk through many hard things together as we co-led. I speak on behalf of a group of pastors that him and I prayed with for almost 3 years from 3 different churches, where we would sit around and share words of truth and affirmation. So I'm just really thankful for Joe's leadership. He's just been a blessing in my life.
Pastor Joe has been a spiritual mentor for me for years. I've known him now since 2013. He came and knocked on our door at our church one time. It was right after this shooting that happened. He wanted just to check on me and see how the congregation was taking that incident. For me, Joe is someone who really cares for people. He's an authentic person that once you get to know him, you can see that his love for others is just so authentic, so honest. He came alongside and actually invited the whole congregation of Fellowship Missionary Church to partner with us, and that's been key for our success. Part of it is housing. And years ago, Joe had an idea that Fellowship Missionary could raise the offering on Christmas Eve for housing. And I can say that the ministry of housing of Bridge of Grace has been successful because of that push. It was key what Fellowship Missionary did for us, and so today we've done 17 homes. So I just love Joe and his passion, his heart for people. I just know that there's a lot of marks of Joe in Southeast and a lot of pastors like me.
Today we say goodbye to our pastor, but this is not the end. It is a continuation of the adventure for Joe and Steph, and for each of us here at FMC. Joe is finishing out his tenure here at a place where he has grown and flourished, struggled and led. God is still nudging him to see what he has planned for him next. And from what we know of his last 20 years, he will listen and he will follow.
I want to call us to earnest prayer about how God wants to love Fort Wayne and beyond, and how he's sending us as individuals, but even more as communities. FMC forming little missional communities that go out, that send out, and that becomes the point. We're only gathered to be scattered and be sent to do God's will.